In typical From Software fashion, Kuon is not an easy game to understand. Even if you've played through the game multiple times and read all the files, you're still left trying to piece together a confusing timeline that is compounded by the fact that not everything you see is real. Large parts of the game, and in fact most of the opening yin phase, isn't actually reality as we know it. It's a blur of competing memories and hallucinations from a character currently undergoing the Kuon ritual. And, as we know, the Kuon ritual needs to be done 9 times to successfully reach completion. So, who or what took part in this long and sometimes confusing ritual? Let's take a look. The first participant of the Kuon ritual, or at least the one who would eventually see it through to its completion, was, of course, Kureha, the shrine maiden daughter of Dolman, the resident exorcist who lived in a shrine just outside Lord Fujiwara's manor. She died by falling off a cliff when playing with her younger sister Utsuki one day, but was discovered by a pair of twins who urged her to get into a wicker box. The twins were manifestations of the 2 mulberry trees on the Fujiwara estate, and it was they who saw the potential in Kureha to help them carry out the Kuon ritual. It's important to point out that by this point, Kureha's father Dolman was already experimenting with the Kuon ritual. He had discovered the power of the silkworms that came from the mulberry trees, and was aware of the ritual that involves someone sleeping in a wicker basket 9 times, with the final cycle allowing them to achieve immortality. This was what Dolman believed, at least, and it wasn't until later that he discovered what the Kuon ritual was actually supposed to achieve. But he was unaware that his daughter had unwittingly taken part in the ritual, and was actually somewhat impressed when he realized that the twins had decided to use his daughter, surmising that it was likely because she was his daughter and therefore a powerful specimen. He then decided to run with it, and continued using Kureha in the ritual himself. The first time Kureha went through the ritual, she was placed in a wicker basket with silkworms, which is the usual first step for anyone placed inside. Once the body has merged with these silkworms, however, a larger sacrifice is needed each time. Kureha emerged from the basket apparently fine, but the effects wouldn't last forever, and a few months later, her body seemed to start breaking down again. She needed another sacrifice. The twins suggested that Kureha should find a rat and get in the chest again, as this would fix her right up again. Worried that she was going to rot and lose her limbs, Kureha did just that. This held Kureha over for about a month, but then she needed something larger again. This time, Kureha begged Utsuki to bring her a crow, which she did, and Kureha went through the wicker chest a 3rd time, now having merged with a silkworm, a rat, and a crow. Unlike others who were not powerful enough to survive the process, or were interrupted and thus emerged horrific monsters, Kureha was able to successfully merge with each creature and came out stronger for it. But as always, her body would start breaking down again, and she needed a larger creature to merge with. Kureha then merged with another 2 animals, although what they were exactly is unknown, and they are never mentioned. Presumably they were larger animals, such as cats or dogs, which we saw were used in other Kuon rituals taking place around the Fujiwara estate. Then, finally, she moved on to human subjects. First was her own sister, Utsuki, as Kureha reveals in her own diary. May 7. Today, I killed Utsuki. Her body will soon merge with mine. It was with this fusion that Kureha and Utsuki, as individual beings, ceased to be. The ritual was a success, meaning that the sisters merged into a single being, but that didn't mean that either of them was erased. On the contrary, the sisters continued to struggle to assert dominance over the single body they shared. At times, Kureha took control. At other times, Utsuki. And, particularly in Utsuki's case, she didn't seem to realize what exactly was going on. After all, At times we even see both of them existing as separate beings, but this is perhaps attributed to the fact that they were both shrine maidens from a powerful lineage, which was why the twins chose them in the first place. Regardless, the sisters were by this point one being. Sometimes Utsuki, sometimes Kureha, sometimes both. Next on the chopping block was Lord Fujiwara himself. This didn't occur until the following year, and it's mentioned that by March 24th, Lord Fujiwara had disappeared. He was taken by Kureha the night before and forced into a wicker box with her where they merged. And, like both Utsuki and Kureha, he was able to occasionally show himself and was sighted around the manor by various servants looking like a horrific monster. When he is eventually defeated by Sakuya, Kureha then emerges from his body and moves on, setting her sights on her next victim, Doryo, one of Dolman's disciples. Doryo becomes the 8th victim when Kureha kills him and drags him into a wicker box with her. Yet their merger isn't perfect because Sakuya interrupts them, and they emerge a strange, horrific monster. Still, Kureha is able to survive regardless, and this still counts as the 8th cycle of the ritual. By this point, however, the body the Shrine Maiden sisters share has become unstable and is already beginning to rot again. The final sacrifice is needed to complete the ritual and allow the mulberry trees to be reborn, which was the ultimate goal of the ritual all along. And, fittingly, it is Utsuki and Kureha's father, Dolman, the man behind it all, that becomes the final sacrifice. After he is defeated by Abe no Seimei, who has finally arrived at the manor to uncover what is really going on, Utsuki grabs her father's body and drags him into a wicker chest. Abe no Seimei prepares to end their lives once and for all, but relents when Sakuya begs her not to. Sakuya promises she will take care of whatever emerges from that chest, but she feels bad for Utsuki, who was an unwilling participant in all of this, and believes that she deserves a brand new chance out in the world, outside the shrine and manor walls. The creature that emerges is a young girl that looks like a young Utsuki with hints of her sister, and she remarks as they leave that she's never been allowed outside before. The implications are that this new being at least retains some of Utsuki and Kureha's memories, but because we sadly never got the sequel that was intended, it's unknown exactly who or even what this new creature is, and whether it really does retain any of Utsuki's essence in it, or whether it's simply the mulberry trees fully reborn and relying on Utsuki's human memories as it grows and adjusts. And that marks the end of the only successful Kuon ritual able to complete all 9 cycles, starting with Kureha and ending with her entire family and even some disciples, all merged within the wicker chests to allow the mulberry trees to be reborn. But what do you guys think of this one? Are there any other lore videos you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.